Bringing a fresh new perspective on the challenges and issues that face our criminal justice system and their impact on all New Yorkers, this is Justice Matters with your host, President of the New York State Supreme Court Officers Association, Patrick Cullen.
Good afternoon to all our listeners here on AM 970, The Answer. My name is Patrick Cullen, and I am the President of the New York State Supreme Court Officers Association, representing the best court officers in the nation. It's a pleasure to welcome you back to Justice Matters, a show that highlights the very important role that court officers play in maintaining safety and security in our state Supreme Courts throughout New York City and the 9th Judicial District. Before we get to our guest today, I just want to touch on a couple of issues from this past week. The recently passed New York State budget contains some new provisions concerning bail reform, criminal justice reform. These things will have a direct impact on public safety. And bail reform in a state budget lets judges remand or set bail for certain people charged with a short list of major crimes. It removes any discretion for other offenses such as misdemeanors. A release automatically occurs now for anybody arrested for these particular what are deemed low-level crimes. I would argue otherwise. Any crime has a victim is not a low-level crime. No matter the compelling reasons to believe an individual might skip town, the judges used to have the discretionary authority to keep dangerous people off the streets, as well as ensuring their return to court. These things have been erased by these provisions in the new state budget. Recidivism rates will skyrocket, and it emboldens the criminal element in our society. When the individual believes there are seemingly no consequences, they will continue to commit crimes. It has already happened. Most recently, a defendant who was considered the poster child for bail reform was arrested by the New York City Police Department and has been arrested over 13 times. This is not the intent for bail reform. We are going to see this continually happen, and our courts are going to be overcrowded as defendants carry more cases and more cases as they continue to be arrested while facing charges on other crimes. Why is this important? The impact it has on the safety of our communities is first and foremost, and it's my belief that there will be consequences from this politicization of public safety and the criminal justice system. I want to tie it into another story that happened this week. The New York Post wrote an article about the vandalization of court vans, New York State court property. They were parked outside the family court building in Manhattan, and they were vandalized, spray paint, graffiti. This is a violation and a disgrace to the men and women who work in the New York State courts at every level, from the top to the bottom. This is directly a result of patrol cutbacks made 4 months ago. Our mobile security patrols were cut in half, and the ability to patrol these areas was eliminated. And you're going to see these types of things happen continually if we don't refurbish the staffing that's necessary to protect our property and our facilities. I've said before, and I will say it again here, if they're vandalizing vans today, they're going to vandalize buildings tomorrow. And without the restoration of these patrol cutbacks, that's where we're headed. These two issues that I bring up, they're connected. And I believe they're connected by a rush to over-legislate policy. There's one-party rule now in Albany, and there's no balance or check on power any longer. And the rush to legislate these reforms and cutbacks, while maybe seeming unrelated, they're completely unrelated, because in both cases, safety takes a back seat. And New Yorkers don't deserve that, especially the hardworking, tax-paying men and women of this city and this state, much like yourselves and much like the members of the SCOA. It's my firm belief that these issues have been sped up to get through the budget process. These are so monumental, these changes, that they deserved nothing more than an extended period of time to debate, to hold public hearings, to hear from all stakeholders in the criminal justice system. But in fact, what's happened is pushed through under cover of night through the New York State budget process. We disagree, but I know my brothers and sisters in law enforcement and the people I represent will be well prepared to continue our vigilance to protect the court system, this city, and this state. We're going to move on to our first guest today. He's a senior partner with Pasternak, Tilker, Ziegler, Walsh, Stanton, and Romano, LLP. He has been affiliated with the SCOA as an attorney for quite some time now, and it's my pleasure to welcome Justice Matters, Mr. Jordan Ziegler, Esquire. Jordan, thanks for coming on today, and I really appreciate a few minutes of your time. We're going to talk about some really important things that affect not just our members, but working people in general throughout New York. Really, what's important is that people injured in the performance of their duties, some who may never return to work as a result of their injuries, these are the types of people that absolutely need legal representation and advice through the system. But before we get into that, just want to give a little background, and you can also you're a senior partner at the firm. You handle workers' comp, personal injury, and Social Security disability claims for the firm, as well as civil service disability retirement pensions from the city and the state local retirement systems. And you also serve as the chair to the law firm's Civil Service Disability Retirement Pension Department as well. It was pretty impressive qualifications, and so that's why we're so happy to have you on.
Well, hi, Pat. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You're a brave man to have a lawyer come on a radio show, I think. And my goal is to, and as you and I both know, one of the topics that we're going to talk about is I consider one of the best kept secrets in New York on all these Social Security, workers' comp, disability pension. A lot of people know about personal injury, but those other three topics are some of the best kept secrets. And most of the time, the only, the only place I get to discuss this is when labor unions, law enforcement associations have a guy like me come in to speak to their membership on these topics. Most employers won't have, most private employers won't have an attorney like myself come in and tell their workers what to do if they get hurt. Right. They're worried about their insurance rates and this and that, but your role in having me come in to speak to you today and to your membership over the last, I think, decade even,
sure,
is to inform the membership on what their rights are if they get hurt.
Right.
You know, so we can only lead them to water. We can't make them do anything.
Sure.
But
you bring up an interesting topic because, I've said this in the past. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today is the day I'm going to get hurt at work. And when it happens, oftentimes people are left at a dead end, especially, like you said, in private industry. But that's where we provide, you provide this service. What is workers' compensation?
Okay, so workers' compensation is a program in New York State, and some states have it, some states don't, but let's stick with New York State, to protect injured workers and provide benefits if you get hurt at work or while doing work. Right. It provides wage replacement up to a maximum rate. Right now it's about $904 a week tax-free while you're losing time from work. If you qualify for the highest rate, it's 2/3 of your gross weekly wages.
Gotcha.
So everybody has a different rate, but at the most it's $904 a week. Your membership can actually get full salary tax-free while they're out on line of duty injury. That's a contractual added benefit. The other two things it provides is if you have a permanent injury to an extremity, a limb, arm, leg, knees, toes, etc., you can receive an award, a tax-free cash award, even if you don't lose time from work. And it also provides for copay-free medical care for life on that injury.
It's really, there's so many levels to what can happen if you get hurt at work that are beneficial to the injured party, and I don't think a lot of people know about that. That's why it's such a benefit for us to to bring you out to our commands to discuss this, because especially in a a job with such hazardous conditions, oftentimes we're susceptible more so to injury than others. How do workers apply for workers' comp?
Okay, so the first thing that has to happen, it might sound obvious, is you have to get hurt. Okay, so if you are injured on the job, the next thing you should do before you call a lawyer, actually, is to seek medical care.
Right.
Without a doctor involved or a healthcare provider, there is no claim, there is no case, because the physician or healthcare provider has to provide evidence that your injury is work-related. So let's say you get hurt on the job, you don't know if it's big injury, small injury, but it's enough to send you to a doctor or an emergency room for care. So now you go to for health care, and the next thing you have to do is, if you had an accident, and that's special definition, if you know how you got hurt, where you got hurt, when you got hurt, why you got hurt, you know exactly what happened, you have to notify your employer within 30 days that you got hurt. That trumps any type of work rule or contract rule of shorter duration to inform your employer. The law in New York State is 30 days to notify your employer. After that, you have to file a claim within 2 years, and that has to go to the Workers' Comp Board. The only other type of way to get hurt is an occupational illness, and that's type of injuries. The benefits are the same, but the filing requirements are different. You don't have to tell your employer you got hurt within 30 days, because occupational illnesses develop over time.
Right. And so that would include potential illnesses borne by, say, asbestos related incidents, or working in a facility or an environment with chemicals, or what's the case in many people in New York's life now, 9/11 related injuries. So those would be considered occupational illnesses.
For sure, but and even for your membership, you can even go down to something more basic as repetitive working with your hands, standing for long periods of time, kneeling for long periods of time. So your membership could actually get carpal tunnel syndrome. If you're shooting with your firearm for many years, you could develop hearing loss.
Yeah.
And standing on your feet all day long, bad knees, bad backs, bad hips, bad shoulders, and all the the gun belts and all the equipment and gear that your members wear.
Sure.
That can wear away at your body parts, and as that you stay on this job long enough, those can develop into illnesses that are work-related.
Wow. That's and this is, again, it's overlooked, and we don't get people aren't informed enough about this information. That's why we try to bring you out to talk to our members in person and have them. You're always available for them, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I do want to get into kind of the roadmap for reporting injuries, and also the process for filing for disability retirements. We'll get into that after we take this quick break.
We return now to Justice Matters with the president of the New York State Supreme Court Officers Association, Patrick Cullen.
Continuing our conversation with workers' comp attorney Jordan Ziegler. Jordan, can you just talk a little bit about the timeframes for the hearings you referred to earlier, about the workers' comp board hearing somebody's case? I know that there's a lot of cases to be heard, and I know that there's a long period of time. So the length of time needed to make the retirement decision and how the process plays out.
Okay, so I'll break it down. So for workers' comp hearings, it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to actually get your hearing if you request it and if you push for it, and it's an emergency. So I've just said it takes almost 2 months in an emergency. So that's a long time to wait for a workers' compensation hearing for your benefits.
Sure.
It could actually take, you could wait, some of our clients wait a year.
Wow.
And there's sometimes no rhyme or reason, but the workers' comp board is not trying to expedite hearings. So they're going along. They're doing a lot of them by telephone. They do a lot of them by video.
Wow.
And they're just taking a long time. And one thing, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I exist and my law firm exists, and we have a lot of offices all throughout New York State, because every single time you file a workers' compensation claim, the employer will always have an attorney on the other side of the table at a hearing, always, whether you have one or not. So it's not a great idea to go into a workers' comp hearing without one on your side, because the employer will always have an attorney on their side.
That's vitally important. I'm glad you brought that up, and that's why we do work so closely with you and the firm, because we don't want anybody going it alone. What's a time frame for how the process of maybe and unfortunately, I think people in these positions are forced to sometimes make a retirement decision that they never thought they would have to make, a disability retirement. So if you just really talk about what a disability retirement is and the options. If you need to get to that point, that there does exist, thank God, something there for you to take advantage of. But we don't want to see people retire early for disability, but it exists for them. So let's talk really for a minute or two about what is disability retirement?
Okay. So that term sometimes is used generically and interchangeably. Every worker or everybody basically in the U.S. has the right to get Social Security disability, and that's regardless of your job title, whether you're private sector or public sector. So Social Security disability, you're entitled to that if you're a worker and you are no longer able to perform your job for at least 12 months in a row and sometimes forever. So that's Social Security disability, and your membership is entitled to that because they're workers. You have the added benefit because your membership is in the New York State Employees Retirement System and your public sector, so you have something also called disability retirement pensions through that retirement system. And you're entitled to apply and file and get that benefit if you are permanently disabled to perform your job duties as a court officer.
Right.
So that's specific to your titles.
Right.
And when I meet with your members or any public sector members, the first thing we have to see is, are you working? And if you're not working and it's looking like you're going to be out of work, never to return, then we start to discuss Social Security and disability retirement. Social Security, again, you have to be out for 12 or more months, but if you return to work, it just stops and you can return to work. With disability pension, that's a final determination. So as long as you and your doctor both feel that you are permanently disabled, never to return, that's when we start to discuss disability pension. That could be after day one if it's a major catastrophic injury, or maybe after 9, 10, 11, 12 months later when all of a sudden you realize you can't go back.
Right. What we do here at SCOA is we inform people as they're coming up on the 10-month requisite period of time that they would have to file for what some people might determine an early retirement, but in reality it's a disability retirement. And the benefits of a disability retirement are at a reduced rate, obviously, of what's known as a common retirement. And then people are granted 2 6-month extensions after that. But after 24 months, if you're hurt in the line of duty, you're facing the daunting finality, as you said, the finality of your career coming to a close. Myself and Vice President Patrick O'Malley have encountered over the last number of years a couple of members who are, brand new, 3-4 years on a job. One individual, 26 years of age, faced with making this determination. And, thank goodness for yourself and your firm to be able to guide somebody through that, because most people, like I said, and I will continue to say, don't expect that their career is going to come to a close in such a sudden instance. So what are some challenges that are facing workers in the future when it comes to your field of expertise? Is there a threat to the existing system as we know it? I know that we've discussed in the past some of the legislative initiatives that were introduced, but I think ultimately defeated. If you want to just talk about what are we up against when it comes to your line of work?
Sure. 2 big categories that we discussed today: workers' comp. The business council and the insurance industry are always trying to cut costs, battle, and reduce the workers' comp benefits. We just survived another big push last year, and your membership and your union helped submit cards to the governor to prevent him from adding a major change in the workers' comp board that would have really devastated a lot of benefits for the workers. And when it comes to disability pension, your members have 2 types of benefits they can apply for: 33% of their salary, and 75% of the salary. And the difference between the 2 benefits is how they got hurt, not the disability and how disabled they are, but the mechanism and the way they got hurt. And I would say you could see the erosion of the 3/4 down to 33% over the last 2 decades. I've been doing this since 1992, and the vast majority of your membership, unfortunately, are receiving 33%, one-third disability pensions rather than the three-quarters, which exists for your members, but the retirement system processes them in a different eye lately, and it's mostly going one-third. So
right. And we have, over the last 5 years, tried to strengthen that three-quarters disability ability with legislation that we've introduced in both houses, unanimously passed 5 consecutive years, and ultimately and continually vetoed by this governor. It's frustrating, especially when the governor claims to have had working people's back in his most recent re-election campaign, and so the inability for him to recognize the importance of protecting our members through passing that legislation is frustrating, to say the least. And we continue. We're introducing the bills again, and we appreciate your support. And you can count on us for the support to continue to strengthen and try and oppose any erosion of existing benefits. I think it's important. We really could do so much on these topics, Jordan, and your time. I really do appreciate. I want to thank you for coming on, but what I wanted to leave with is how do people get in touch with you if you're a working person in New York and you're hearing this? How do they get in touch with you for advice and for the ability to learn a little bit more?
It's a basic ways. We have an 800 toll-free number, 800-692-3717, 800-692-3717. You can email me directly, jziegler@workerslaw.com. Visit our website at workerslaw.com. And many times you don't even have to come into our office anymore. We can text message you all our forms and all our retainers. You could sign it with your finger and text it back, and we could file without you having to come into the office.
Well, that's amazing. And the ease with which you can now create and pursue a workers' comp case is phenomenal. And I thank you for being a leader in this industry and somebody who supported our membership, not just through what you do, but in so many other ways. And if you're a SCOA member listening to this, you call the union office, and we will put you directly in touch with Jordan as well. Jordan, again, thank you again for your time today and for some really valuable information. And I look forward to maybe doing it again.
Thanks, Pat. Well, I'd be happy to come back.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to Justice Matters with your host, Patrick Cullen, president of the New York State Supreme Court Officers Association.
Welcome back to Justice Matters. In our second half of this week's show, we're going to hear from Marilyn Martinucci, who's the founder of HeartScan Services. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat.
Before we get into some other questions, give us a little background on the services that your company provides.
So HeartScan Services, we're a preventive screening company, and what we do is we provide screening for heart disease, stroke, thyroid cancer, abdominal aneurysm, and vascular disease, which will detect stage 1, stage 2 hypertension.
Right. And so how did you become involved in this line of work?
So I spent the past 25 years working in cardiac surgery and cardiology, and what I found were people were getting younger and younger and not being identified with their standard physical and blood work and having underlying disease. So I started the company to go out there, prevent disease, bring awareness, and get people screened that ordinarily wouldn't even be able to get this done.
Yeah, it's an invaluable tool, and to be, for full disclosure's purposes, you're obviously a vendor, a benefit provider for the SCOA, a member, and many other labor unions. We'll get into that in a minute. Explain to us how the scans work for the people who've never heard of a product like yours, a service like yours, and are interested, and everybody should be interested, and we'll also get into that in a few moments. But how do the scans work?
So what we do is we bring ultrasound equipment, which is non-invasive, and we bring our cardiac technicians on site or in our office, whichever is preferred by the organization and the individual being screened. And we will actually look inside the heart, inside the neck, look for nodules for thyroid that could potentially become cancerous. And our studies are sent to a cardiologist and is read by a cardiologist prior to the individual receiving the final report.
Yeah, and again, that level of service provision, the professional expert opinion of a cardiologist after the scans really adds to the overall beneficial nature of what you do. And I think it's important that, when we first met and wanted to roll this benefit out to everybody, it was important to the SCOA Executive Board that we be the first among people scanned. Should we roll it out so that we knew what we were bringing out to our members? And I have to tell you, it's really a turnkey operation you have. It's first class. It really makes all the sense in the world, and nobody should really ever be concerned with the word scan, because I think some people think of an MRI or a CAT scan where it's enclosed in a tube and it takes 40 minutes. This is a 10-minute non-invasive scan that's done right in your workplace, and that's so important. But what are some of the other benefits of the scan other than just finding something? Is there an overall health benefit to this? Is there a peace of mind that goes along with it?
So I think, Pat, what happens is our program allows individuals that would not even think of getting a true cardiac preventive screening, more so than what they would get in their physical. And it provides them the opportunity to get followed if need be, but also it does provide them that peace of mind, because now they're on the road to staying healthy. And in most cases, heart disease, thyroid cancer, stroke, there are no symptoms. So unfortunately, people don't have any early indicator. In this case, we can really give them the tools, A, to know they're healthy, B, to have baselines, which none of us are getting in our physicals. And I just want to add the reason that most of us don't get the screening in our physicals the way we need to in this depth is because insurance companies will only cover the screening for these number 1 disease, which is heart disease, number 3 for stroke, the top 5 cancer, which is thyroid, only if you're sick.
Right.
And as I said before, there are no symptoms typically, so most of us go undiagnosed, so we're not able to prevent it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point you make about the insurance companies and the service that we personally provide to our members, is of no cost to our members. And I think that goes hand in hand with a lot of what your involvement with the labor union movement is. But also, when you're referred to a cardiologist or a doctor in general after a scan, and if something is found, we are lucky to be included in and participate in the New York State Health Insurance Program, the Empire Plan, which I feel is the best health care plan in the nation. We're very lucky to participate in that, even though it's at a higher cost than it should be. That's a topic for another day. And the healthcare debate, which, you're more than welcome to come back when we have that debate as well. But the ability to be able to go to a doctor, pay a small copay, and get yourself checked out if something's found through one of your scans is invaluable. So your involvement with the labor union community, I think, is really a testament to what you provide and the type of person you are, too. You recognize the reach that labor unions have and their ability to send a message to their members. Talk about how you got involved with that.
So our program focused early on with the labor unions, and what we found are the hard-working men and women in our city, particularly in Long Island and our local community. Many of them never really take the time or think it's important because they're so busy to get screened. So we started going to the leadership, as you said, and I believe strongly that preventive screening comes from the top down, meaning the leadership has to believe that this is important in order to share it with their membership. So we started working with different labor groups, from our police groups to our fire groups, sanitation, corrections, court officers, bus drivers. And what we just kept finding early on is we were saving lives, providing these incredible programs, and the leadership was behind us 100%, which to us shows the care that they have. So they're out there every day fighting on behalf of the members, and sometimes the members don't realize that this simple screening that they fought hard to bring will make a difference in their life. And at the end of the day, a healthy employee, a healthy labor member is a healthy organization.
Sure, I couldn't agree with you more on that. In reality, having gotten to know you, there's not a working there's not an occupation in this city, in this state, that hasn't been touched by what you do, and that's again what makes us so proud to partner up with you to try and save lives. And we're going to get into some of the instances where we've seen our members' lives saved by the services you provide. It is also a testament to union labor sticking together. If a group finds success and interest in a particular service, a benefit, or anything, it's passed on through word of mouth. And so the brotherhood of labor in general has, I think, really made everybody aware of how critically important and how wonderful your program is. I want to talk, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about HIPAA, which I believe is the Health Insurance Privacy Protection Act. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it right. HIPAA is something that obviously we all deal with and everybody's entitled to. Can you just discuss HIPAA a little bit?
Sure. So the one terrific thing about our program is we are very compliant with HIPAA. So any member that we screen knows that we will not share their information with anyone at all. No executive board, no union leadership, no bureaucratic top organization will have their information. We don't even take a social security number, and so we're very private in our data. So when we share data, it's truly numbers. It's never names. It's never location. It's never gender specific to a location we screen in order to protect the individual and the members.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so attractive to be able to roll this out as a benefit that we have. We're protecting our members' privacy, their identity, but we can still find out statistical information about what you've found. And over our association with you, we have found some seriously concerning issues, and some of it I believe to be 9/11 related. And so it's important, and I want to get into the statistics. But are there any other preventative screenings that you're working on as add-ons to what you currently provide?
Yes, so this year, 2019, we added an additional screen called the aortic aneurysm, abdominal aortic aneurysm screen. And what that is, it is using ultrasound again. Once we're done doing the echocardiogram on the heart, we go down in the lower part of the heart and we get the lower abdominal aorta, which is the largest vessel in the heart. And why that's important is many individuals have high blood pressure and also may have a genetic history. And once again, there are no symptoms. However, if you have an abdominal aneurysm, usually the outcome is death. So this is preventive. It's simple. It takes 10 minutes, and we are adding it to the organization of the SCOA, and
great.
We're excited for you to bring this program forward this year.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be able to see that, and that's why I ask, is there something new to the service? Because so many people have been screened. I believe we were at 75% of our members have been screened. We want that extra 25% there. And if we're adding a service, we can go back to all of our facilities, 38 different facilities in your workplace, given 15, 20 minutes to participate in the scan. But now we'll be able to, with this new angle, this new extra added benefit to the scans, grab everybody who already had it. You know what I mean? So because there's no expiration date on a preventative scan, right? You could have one today, and then tomorrow you could have another one, and you could find something. So we're going back out with this. We've offered this to retired members and some spouses, and the more people we can catch with it, the better. And so that's really important work, and we're excited for it, and I can't wait to get you back out there because again, it's simple. And I think that people need to know that. The mentality that we have found out of certain people, that 25% we didn't get last time, I don't want to know. I don't want to get the scan. I don't want to find out. No, those are the people who need it. Just mentioned to you that, the Yonkers Police Department last week lost a member, active police officer Tom Goff, 33, 34 years old, and he dropped dead. These are the types of things that people in our professions are facing, and it's a testament to you, and we're so grateful for what you do. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to talk about some of the statistics we found about the SCOA members and relate it to some of the things going on in our work world. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Justice Matters with Patrick Cullen, president of the New York State Supreme Court Officers Association.
Welcome back to Justice Matters. We're continuing our conversation with Marilyn Martinucci, founder of HeartScan Services. We touched before the break on HIPAA and the protections that are allowed to really everybody when they're dealing with any medical issue, that their identity is kept private. And we want to get into what we've found during our association with HeartScan, having gone out to every facility that we cover, sometimes a couple of different facilities, and also have had members and retirees meet you at other locations to do to partake in the scans. So, if you can get into a little bit of the statistical data, and let's see how that relates to what we do for a living and our current environment in our employment.
Sure. So when we screened the members of the SCOA and we were complete, the data actually was quite surprising, and I think really brought attention to the stresses that the members do have on the job and the risk that goes along with that oftentimes is underlying and they do not have any idea. So with our program, we found that we screened 620 of the members. 477 actually needed follow-up, which equates to 77%.
Wow.
So
3/4 of every SCOA member you had contact with was relayed to go see a medical professional.
Right. And what was really interesting is 49% of those that had abnormal, they were cardiac related, heart related. And what was also 48% was thyroid, which is now looking back, it's factual that it's the top 5 cancer for everyone in the country. It's the fastest growing, but more importantly, many of your members were 9/11 members. Those courts in the city are down in that location.
Yes.
And it continues to grow, and Johns Hopkins Hospital feels it's going to be the top 3 cancer coming up in the next 2 to 3 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing correlation to relay. I mean, we're talking about 9/11 being, 18 years ago this coming September, but we have members who are working, especially in the Manhattan courts, who responded and were down in the location below Canal Street for all that period of time. Courts only took a day or two off when that awful tragedy happened, and so these are people who were, just going to about their regular business, going to work, in and out of the train stations down in Lower Manhattan. That God only knows what they were breathing. It's a tragedy that people weren't protected more at the time, and so the thyroid cancer is certainly troubling. So
right.
What else have you found?
So one of the other things that we identified were that 200 of your members had underlying hypertension and had no idea. They were not being treated. So when you look at hypertension being 1 in 3 adults having it, your members are 100% part of that statistic.
Wow.
And now that they've been identified, they can absolutely get followed. And that's important because you can have hypertension unnoticed and undiagnosed, and you can, as a result, have a stroke or a heart attack, despite the fact that your cardiac muscle may be healthy.
Right.
So that in itself, those 200 members, just helping them with hypertension will make an outcome difference in their health.
Yeah, it's incredible if you think about that. We've already got stressful jobs. We've been shorthanded for so long now, and it's been, it hasn't been helped. They haven't been hiring people. We've been short of staff, and so people have been doing the work. Individuals have been doing the work of 2 people, sometimes 3 people. And so what does that lend itself to is a stressful workplace. If you add in the awful condition of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority and its ability to get people to and from work, whether you drive, whether you take the train, everybody's delayed. People are sitting in traffic for extra 45 minutes, an extra hour every day. What does that lend to? Stress, high blood pressure, and then ultimately maybe heart condition.
Right. And also, what was uncovered is stress increases your risk for building plaque.
Right.
And we found 10% of your members screened actually had plaque buildup in their carotid, which are the vessels that lead to the head that would cause potentially a stroke. And it's actually more advanced when you have hypertension on top of it. So when you look at just the overall preventive piece that your members that were identified now can follow and make sure that they're keeping an eye on what could potentially cause them down the road to have a heart attack, stroke, thyroid cancer, this program was terrific.
Yeah, we've had the occasion to, even though this information is protected by HIPAA, members who have been affected, especially cancer, people had no idea they had cancer, which, cancer is such a terrible, daunting, disgusting disease. You don't know you have it until you're told you have it, and sometimes it's late in the game or it's advanced and these types of things. Members identified themselves to us and came to us and said, guys, thank you so much for providing this scan. They sent me to the doctor. I found out I was sick, and now I'm out in front of it. We caught it early, and I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than that. So I can only imagine the type of reward you feel from the work you provide, providing it for so many just hardworking, regular middle-class people in New York, and how many lives you have saved as a result of your service. Talk a little bit about it.
So, yeah, it is very rewarding. We've screened close to 20,000 individuals, and through the programs with these SCOA, we actually learned that thyroid cancer in itself was such a big issue. We started a non-for-profit, and we do get funding from City Council and the New York State Senate.
Yeah.
And we go out there and we provide it. And it was because of the hard work and support of the board of your group that brought it to our attention that we could go out and make a difference for so many other people. But we are close to about 800 lives we saved from thyroid cancer. We are over 1,000 with heart disease, over 1,000 with cardiac stroke. So these programs make a difference, and I can go out into a location and people will come up to me and go, look what I've been followed with. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for bringing it to our organization. And I think that in itself is a testament once again to the leadership of your union and other unions that just work together to help their members.
It's really a partnership, Marilyn, and we're proud to be partners with you and the lives you've saved. I mean, one is a lot, but when you start to talk about hundreds and thousands of people whose lives you've impacted in such a positive way, we can't thank you enough for what you do and what you bring to our members. But also, our jobs are changing, and we're going to continue to see this. So again, I'm thrilled to present your services back to our membership in the coming months, and I cannot stress enough everybody partaking in this. We should have 100% participation. There's not a dime out of your pocket. It's provided to you in your workplace. And so look out for that. We're going to be, broadcasting our locations shortly. But for the regular listener, Marilyn, how do I get in touch with you?
So you can contact us directly on our toll-free number. It is 1-866-518-1112. Or you can also reach out on our website, which is heartscanservices.com, and email directly from the website.
Well, if there's anything we can ever do to continue to help promote the services and be there for you and your staff, anything we can do, please don't hesitate to ask us, because it's such a incredible partnership we have. And I thank you again for coming on this week. And let's do it again sometime.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for letting us make a difference.
No,
with your members.
Certainly does. Before we wrap up this week's show, I just want to bring your attention to the SCOA annual golf outing. It is in its 20th year, and it provides us an ability to raise funds for our college scholarship program. Our members who have children of college age can apply for a scholarship, and this golf outing is really the number one force behind being able to raise funds to pass on to those children of our members, those men and women who are working so hard this gives us an ability to offset some costs in college, and so we're so proud to do it. It's going to be July 15th at the Lawrence Yacht Club in Lawrence, New York. For more information, nysscoa.org. And next week's program, we will be joined in studio by candidate for Queens District Attorney Greg Lasak, and we're also going to talk to the Special Olympics New York about what they do, the torch run, and our partnership with them and what we do charitably. Until next week, this Justice Matters.